All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the three fundamental paths to building wealth, and it's all based on this really fascinating analysis that honestly simplifies a pretty complex goal. Okay, let's just dive right into this because it's a powerful idea. The whole point here is that getting wealthy isn't some big, unsolvable mystery. Turns out it actually follows three pretty distinct and understandable patterns. And the paths themselves, they're actually surprisingly simple to get your head around. But, and this is the big but, the execution, that's where it gets tough. That's the part that separates the dreamers from the people who actually make it happen. So, let's jump into our first path, building the machine. This is all about creation and ownership. It's the classic entrepreneur's route, building a system that produces value from the ground up, and this is absolutely crucial, holding on to the equity. So this really gets to the core of the difference between just earning and actually owning, right? On one hand, you've got linear income, like your salary. It's got a ceiling. There are only so many hours in the day. But equity in a growing business, that's a whole different ballgame. That's where you see the potential for that exponential, explosive wealth, because its value can multiply way beyond just the hours you put in. Yeah, and this is the key concept. You're not just trading your time for money anymore. Instead, you're getting paid for your control over a scalable asset, something that can grow bigger and bigger, totally independent of you putting in more hours. You've built a system. And look, the numbers don't lie. If you check out wealth reports from big names like UBS or Forbes, what do you see? Over and over again, the number one category of new self-made billionaires is founders, people who built a scalable asset and kept their ownership stake. Okay, so think of this as the blueprint for building that wealth engine. You spot a problem, you create the fix, you make it repeatable, and then you scale it up. Simple, right? Well, here's the catch. Most people crash and burn on that final critical step, holding on to ownership while the whole thing explodes in size. Man, this quote is just perfect. It really drives home the point that this path isn't just about having some genius idea. I mean, ideas are great, but distribution is everything. It's about building a machine that gets your product out there and doing it with margins that let you pour fuel back into the fire to grow even faster. That's the real leverage. Okay, so that was building. Now let's talk about path number 2. This one's a totally different philosophy. It's not about creation, it's about acquisition. You let someone else go through all the pain of building the factory, and then you just buy it. This is the investor's path. And this whole path, the entire thing, hinges on one incredibly powerful mathematical force, compounding. It's the magic engine here. It's where your money starts making its own money, and then that money starts making money, creating this crazy, accelerating upward curve over decades. And just look at this example to see how insane that curve gets. You put in, say, 20 grand a year for 30 years. That's $600,000 of your own money. But with an 8% return, you don't end up with 600 grand. No way. You're looking at over 2.2 million. And the wildest part, most of that growth happens in those last few years. It just goes vertical. So you can see this path needs a completely different mindset than the builder's path, right? This isn't about hustle and chaos. This is about discipline. It's about saving up capital, systematically putting it to work in good assets, reinvesting everything, and just not messing it up. The big key is avoiding those huge, catastrophic losses that set you back to square one. And that brings us to this critical point. The biggest threat to your wealth on this path, it's not the market, it's not a recession, it's you. It's your own emotions, getting greedy and buying at the top, or getting scared and selling at the bottom. That's what kills compounding. It's the number one enemy. All right, on to our third and final path. And this one's really interesting because it's kind of a bridge between the other two. It's for people who don't have a ton of capital to start and maybe aren't ready to build a whole company from scratch. The game here is to use your unique skills to make a really high income inside someone else's system. And then you turn that income into ownership. See, the core idea is simple. Your labor by itself doesn't really scale. But if you embed your labor inside a system that has massive leverage, think tech, finance, suddenly your impact multiplies. And when your impact multiplies, so does your paycheck. And it's no surprise that when you look at high earners who actually get wealthy, they almost always come from these specific industries. Why? Simple. That's where the leverage is. A single deal or project can generate enormous value, and compensation reflects that. So this path is really a journey with distinct phases. First, you get really, really good at a valuable skill. Then you pick the right system to plug into. You get close to the money, and then you just aggressively, relentlessly convert your big paychecks into assets. And the final step? Detachment. You reach a point where your assets are doing all the heavy lifting, not you. Okay, so we've walked through all three paths: build, buy, and join. Now let's pull it all together and put them side by side. You'll really see how different they are in terms of what they demand from you. This table lays it all out perfectly. If you're going to build, your main tool is equity, and your biggest challenge is just execution. It's the fastest path, but man, is it risky. If you're going to buy, your tool is capital, and your challenge is patience, decades of it. It's slow and steady. And if you join, your tool is your skills, and the whole game is about negotiation and converting that income into ownership. It's kind of a hybrid approach. So here we are at the end. And the big question really comes back to you, doesn't it? Now that you've seen these three models laid out, think about it. What are your goals? What resources do you have? What's your appetite for risk? Are you a builder, a buyer, or a joiner? Which path are you actually on?